Welcome to the Develop Yourself podcast, where we teach you everything you need to land your first job as a software developer by learning to develop yourself, your skills, your network, and more. I'm Brian, your host. Today on the Develop Yourself podcast, I have a friend of mine, a person I've worked with, and somebody I'm really excited to have on the show, Jeremy Smith. He has a very interesting story. It's inspiring. And when we talk about people from non-traditional paths, we think people without computer science degrees. And yeah, that's not traditional, but it's not that crazy. But Jeremy has what I consider a very unique story. Jeremy, welcome to the show. And briefly, can you tell the people a little bit like who you are and what got you into coding and tech?
Yeah. So like you said, my name is Jeremy. I'm here from the heart of the Bay Area, the heart of Silicon Valley. I actually got into tech way before I actually even knew what it was. Like I didn't know what a software engineer was or what front end, back end, or any of this stuff was. I actually started off playing around on MySpace around the age of 12 and 13. And it kind of went down a rabbit hole. I ended up teaching myself PHP because I wanted to put stuff on the web and helping people put music on their MySpaces and stuff like that, forums and stuff. And I didn't really know that you can get a job as an engineer, like writing code. So then I went into sales because that's what my mentor was into. So he was a sales guy at Oracle, and he pretty much like polished me and like mentored me to become like a sales executive. So a lot of my ways were about client management, getting client acquisition, understanding sales trends, understanding the sales pipeline and all that. So that's what I did early on in my 20s. And then around the age of 24, I went to work for a inside tech sales. So it was over the phone, closing clients, selling software. And one day I came in super early. We had like a PHP bug on our website, and I kind of helped fix it. Not really help fix it, but I kind of helped them, with some troubleshooting. And then one of the guys, he sort of suggested that I go teach myself how to code in sort of this modern way. At this time, it was like 2013. He said, learn, JavaScript, learn some of the new stuff that people are doing, and you can find a job doing stuff because I could tell that you kind of have a knack for it. So I left and just taught myself how to sort of code in modern times. And then I eventually got a job at Pandora. That was my first like job that I got.
Damn.
Out the gate. Went to a meetup with a company called Hack Reactor, or not Hack Reactor. It was a Hacker X, and it was like it was like speed dating for people who were looking to get into code or getting to to get a job as a coder. And then there was a bunch of companies that needed front end web developers or back end web developers or whatever. At that time, there was full stack was a thing, but it wasn't like a thing how it is now.
Wasn't like the expectation that it is now. It's like now it's like just expected.
Exactly. There was like front end, and then there was like a middle end layer that you kind of had to know if you were like back end and front end, so you guys could connect.
Yeah.
And then there was a separation of church and state in a way. Now you got to kind of have to know both in order to be effective in today's market.
Hey, I hope you're enjoying this episode. And the reason why a lot of people listen to this show is because they want to become a software engineer. So maybe you went to a boot camp, or maybe you're just learning to code. And maybe you want to make this the year that you actually become a software engineer. If that's you and you have the time and the dedication and you're not looking for some get-rich-quick scheme, you should join Zubin and I for a very customized program where we take you from zero through hired with an intensely personalized custom roadmap that we will help you see through step by step to get interviews, pass interviews, and learn the skills that'll make you a professional grade coder. If you're serious and want to start working with us one-on-one, then schedule a call by using the show notes below or apply online at parsity.io/inner-circle. Now back to the episode.
So I went to that meetup. I met with a bunch of people, and then, some people gave me callbacks, other people didn't. One of the callbacks I got was for Pandora, and it was up from there. I was, working as a full-time front-end developer. And, it took a long time it didn't take a long time. It took about, I want to say about a year of me being like buckled down focused until I really got the first job.
Okay. That's pretty normal, which is funny because I think a lot of people think,
it was so easy back then or something. And I'll admit, like, things were different. I'm always like apprehensive about saying things were easier back then. I mean, I know there was a period where it was a little bit easier, or than it was now. Like today's market is kind of rough. But when people hear that you back in like 2013 took a full year of basically what you would consider intense studying to become a software developer, some people might think, "Oh, wow, that's not what I expected." I think there's this kind of myth that's still prevalent that a 3-month boot camp can prepare you now for today's market. And in some cases that's true, but in most of the cases, I'd say that's not really the reality. I want to get into a lot of this because your experience tracks with a lot of, I think, what people are dealing with now. And so salespeople tend to get jobs quicker, I notice, because they have the correct mindset when it comes to getting a job. A lot of people learn how to code and they'll never find a job. And I feel bad for these people. They also don't seem to get something that salespeople get. Can you tell us a little bit about how you approached getting a job and maybe what you think developers are missing nowadays that already know how to code or are getting out of boot camps and thinking, "Oh my God, like, I can't, no one will hire me." What are we doing wrong that salespeople know?
The biggest thing and that's funny because I just had like a moment of clarity a little while ago, why being in sales for me makes me a little bit more successful than other people. And it's the thick skin, like to be able to get over the objection, like the objections and the rejection, is a big thing, because sometimes when people, they'll hear no, and then they'll start to wallow in, that, and it didn't work out. I'm not good enough. Especially if there's a lot of buildup. Like if you have a lot of good, good vibes at the beginning, you got a good first call, and then the recruiter, you had good energy with the recruiter, and then and then when you get to the end, and then you don't get the job, it's like, dang, like your whole world fell apart, right? Like as a salesperson, I went through that multiple times a day, right? So I would, meet with a prospect, present the product the best I could. They would maybe look like they was going to buy it, and then they didn't. I went through I went through that a lot through the day. So I was able to build up a callus, a really thick skin, and I was able to translate that to when I started to code. Because even when I would get stuck on certain chapters and modules, I just didn't give up. I didn't have an expectation for me to be like, I have to get it right. I knew that there would be some rejection. I knew there was going to be some adversity that I had to tackle. And I was just okay with that. And being okay with that made it really easy for me to I reached out to a lot of different jobs before I got Pandora. Like that meetup that I went to wasn't the first one. I went to like 5 or 6 meetups before that one. I had went to a bunch of meetups, and then I got invited to that meetup from going to another meetup that I went to, and then I was able to get in there, and it was a battle, but I didn't get discouraged because I was already used to rejection already. So I think that's the biggest thing that salespeople probably have, is that we have a stick-to-itiveness about us, and we just keep going, and someone's going to give us a chance at some point if you're lining yourself up the right way. If you're in the rain, you're going to get wet. There's no way around it. You're going to someone's going to give you a chance at some point if you stick.
That's insightful and I've noticed this across the board. I've gone to programs with people that were in sales transitioning. We've had people in Parsity, for example, that have gone from sales. They tend to get hired faster. Some of them are excellent coders. Some of them aren't. And I've seen CS grads that have a very traditional background get hired slower than people that come from a non-traditional background. So I think this whole thing, like computer science versus boot camp versus self-taught, it's kind of a silly argument because no one cares. I mean, when you went to Pandora, we're in the Bay Area, so we're probably a little bit biased. I know that if you're in a different country, perhaps this may not apply. But in the Bay Area, has anybody ever asked you to show your college degree or anything like that?
And funny enough,
never brought it up.
Funny enough, I don't even have a high school degree. I don't even have a GED. I don't even have a GED.
See, this is, I mean, I'm laughing because it's mind blowing, because I remember you told me this before, and I thought, is that, and I was like thinking to myself, is that correct? Because that's amazing. I mean, I've worked with you, and to be fully transparent, Jeremy also does some sales for Parsity because he's really good at it and I am not. But I've also worked with him technically, and I've seen him help other people get into the industry, and he has an excellent track record. So to know that, that's just wild to me. why don't you have a GED?
Why not? I think the biggest thing is because of arrogance, right?
Okay.
So a little story. I don't really tell a lot of people this, but I was in class, and this girl that I went to school with, she was raving about college. She was like, college this and college that, and I was like, I'm already
Mhm,
making more
mhm.
money than a lot of the teacher assistants here because I was in sales young, right? I
Okay.
was
In
in high
high
school,
school?
right? Oh, I'm
Okay.
arrogant. Yeah, if you
Oh,
know me from
yeah.
high school, you probably like, you know who. So I'm like, I'm making more money than some of these TAs already, you know? And
Alright.
so I
Yeah.
was like, I was telling this girl, I was like, I have proof of concept. I said, I could drop out of school right now and I could make more money than the teachers, right? And she was like, "Oh, you gotta go to college. You gotta go to college or whatever." So that wasn't like that
Uh-huh.
situation wasn't like an ultimate reason why I ended up dropping out, but I was
Yeah, yeah.
already showing proof positive in the market, and I just wasn't good at school. That's like another part of it. Like school wasn't my thing. It's just like it didn't click, you
Okay.
know. Um,
Yeah.
oh
I
yeah, it
appreciate the honesty.
wasn't
But
click.
yeah, go ahead. I'm curious,
So
like,
so
what
it just
else?
like I just transitioned out and stopped going, and then I started to work with my mentor full time, and he's a sales guy, so he's positioning me. He knows sort of what I'm going to go up against. He's like, I can kind of tell that school is not going to be your thing, so he put me in a position to say, hey, if you're not going to do the sales, if you're not going to do the school thing, then let me give you a weapon. Let me help you like be able to survive in the market. So then I just went into the market and I had a technical sort of know-how, and then I had my sales, and
Neat.
then I was able to always get a job. I worked a lot of sales jobs, and then eventually I got into tech. But that's kind of and then the market was terrible at that time too. It was 2008.
Oh, yeah. People forget
Yeah,
about 2008. People forget, like, they think that right now is like this awful time, and I'm like, it's not
yeah,
great. But yeah,
yeah,
'08 was
yeah.
pretty
It was bad. A lot of people were losing their homes.
homes.
Yeah,
People were
yeah,
seriously suffering. That was massive. One of the biggest financial disasters of
yeah,
modern
yeah, for
history.
sure. So that was where I was birthed through that time. I came up through that time, and
Mhm.
I credit a lot of my success and my stick to itiveness and my tough skin through being in a tough economy and a tough market in the Bay Area too.
What an amazing story. And I have a bit of a controversial opinion that kind of lends itself to your, I'm assuming too. Like I've told my kids, I'm like, go to college, right? It's probably the safest bet. But don't try to fit a round peg in a square hole or whatever that analogy, whatever that phrase
Yeah,
is. It's like if you don't do well at school, if school is not your thing, it doesn't have to be your thing. Like you don't have to force yourself to go to school, right? I mean, like if that's your thing, do it. I think you should probably graduate high school. I think that's probably the
yeah.
safe bet. But I also know that there's like I've met other people. I've met one other person that has your story. It was a woman. She dropped out of high school and she was working for some FANG company. You've not only worked as a software engineer, you got up to
Yeah,
manager
yeah,
level
yeah.
as well. Yeah, that is mind blowing to me. And I think it shows people that practical skill and having a way to sell yourself is much more important than a degree. And it's becoming even less important to have a degree now. We see increasingly that not just in the Bay Area, but everywhere in the United States, degree requirements are dropping. This is not to say that you shouldn't get a degree or anything. It's just saying that you don't necessarily have to, especially in a field like
Yeah,
software
yeah.
engineering. But so you didn't do super well in school, you said. It
No.
wasn't your thing. How did you get like the dedication and grit to learn something as difficult as coding from basically nothing and then build like full stack complex applications?
Um, I think probably because I didn't have the certifications, like I didn't have the GED, I didn't have the CS degree. That was a motivational factor to prove that I can do it. So a little bit was like I literally am doing the hardest thing that I can actually do. So the challenge was part of it. So that's one part of it. The other thing was my family. At that time, my kids, I had twins. Um, I have I have 4 kids now, but at the time I had the twins, and it was my motivational factor. That was a motivational factor for me to
Mhm.
do it, you know?
So you're a
Yeah,
young
I was
father,
in you know,
correct? Okay.
um, so they were about to be born just maybe 6 months when I finally got a job. Yeah,
Wow.
but I already like, when I found out that I was there on the way, that was like I had the battery in my back to go ahead and just do it all the way. And then not having the credentials was like I gotta do everything times 10. As somebody who has a GED and has a computer science degree, they probably are working hard too, but I gotta work doubly hard because I gotta prove that I'm even better than them. So
Yep.
I did sort of an extreme thing. And plus, like not having the GED was very limiting because it's like I couldn't even really get a job doing like things that were like
Oh,
regular
that's right.
jobs,
I
right?
forget. Yeah,
Like
that's
certain
right.
jobs
Going to
like
Home Depot,
yeah,
they probably want.
yeah,
It's so funny. Go to Home Depot, they want a drug test and make sure you have no
right.
criminal record. Meanwhile, a 150K software engineering
You
job,
know
they don't
the
even
yeah,
care.
right?
It's like they
So
don't even ask
so it
these
was like
questions.
it was either Super Bowl or bust. It was really no I had no choice. I
Oh
had no
man.
choice,
Okay.
right? So I was literally in a corner, right? And I had to fight my way out of it. And I locked myself in a room at my mom's house and I was writing code all day, like all day, you know. And that
Courses,
everything.
books. What? How are you doing this?
YouTube, Team
Okay.
Treehouse. Shout out to Ryan Carson,
Oh
Treehouse.
yeah.
Um, W3 School online. Look at us stuff at W3 School,
Hmm.
Code Academy, um, bugging everybody who knew way more than I did, getting them on a call, getting them in person, buying people a beer, meeting them at meetups, say, hey, let me buy you a beer, show me how to debug my environment.
Damn. That's
So
awesome.
it was different because I was like I put myself in a position to where I have to succeed, Uh,
Yeah, that'll really motivate somebody. I mean, for many people, but I talked to another guy that was in a similar position. He was a rail worker for NYC Transit, and he basically said to his wife, "We're going to use my life savings to get into like a coding boot camp, and I'm going to make this work. I have 3 months
yeah,
of savings basically, and I had the boot camp for 3 months. So in that time, he basically put this crazy limit on himself, and he works at Docker. I think he's worked
wow,
at Facebook, Google." Yeah, he had an amazing story, just amazing. And I'm always impressed when people can use that pressure and then, but also believe in themselves enough to be like, you know what? I'm not only going to take a chance, but I'm going to take a chance. Like I have
yeah,
to
yeah,
succeed. I know that there's always luck at play, and I'm not a big fan of saying, a timeline that you have to get something, but I know that
yeah,
timelines are important for
yeah,
humans. We tend to do better if we
yeah,
have some
yeah,
sort of pressure. So you've learned all this stuff. You've gotten to tech. I want to think about people now because a lot of people are hearing this and thinking, well, that's
yeah,
back then. Things are
yeah,
so different now. All we think about now is I've talked about AI in the show a lot. I plan on continue to talk about it. I'm going to introduce a lot of it into Parsity because I think it's obviously where the market
yeah.
is going. But with AI out now, how might you have changed your learning strategy with things like ChatGPT or whatever other
Yeah.
tools out there that people
I hate
use?
I
What
hate
would
to
you
be
do?
like that grandpa. Like back in my day, I had to walk to the snow 12 miles of school. I got it easy
Yeah.
now, but I think with this new paradigm shift, things are I wouldn't say that they're actually necessarily easier. I will say that there's more pointers to an absolute truth or absolute goal. There's more resources out there. I would leverage AI like to the fullest extent that I could. So that means that building a basic app during my time, you could get away with building like an online like calculator or a sorting tool, right?
Tic
Yeah,
tac
you could
toe
get
or
away with that
something,
back in the
something
day, and
dumb like that. Yeah,
that was
for
actually
sure.
impressive,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. People say,
Right,
oh,
it's
that's
not
not
bad,
bad.
right?
Yeah. Right.
But if I
Yeah.
had AI back then, I would have turned that tic tac toe into like maybe a three-dimensional, having three players play at once, or just sort of innovative. I don't know. I'm just going to spitball here, but I would have thought about it in a more innovative way to make it more special because now I have a an external mind. I have my mind, and then I have an external mind
Mhm. I
that
like
is
that. Yeah. That's funny.
right?
An
It is
external
built
mind.
from
Yeah.
other minds because it's just a large language
Yep.
models of other people's minds. Now you're able to leverage what you already know in your brain to make something even better. I like to give the
Hmm.
analogy of like limitless, right? The pill, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Right?
I love that movie.
It's
Yeah.
always better if you're already smart already. And that's how I feel about AI. It's
Oh man.
if
a
you're
hundred
already
percent.
smart
Yeah.
already, it's just gonna just take it to another level. So turn
yeah.
that capstone project into a better project. I have a student that I'm working with right now. He's going through the code boot camp, but he wants to be an entrepreneur. He's not even trying to go and get a job. He has a good job. He works
Yeah.
as a pharmacist, but he wants to code because he wants to take the knowledge and help all of the small businesses in his family and his community. He wants to turn those into web apps. So one of his relatives has a coffee shop. He wants to turn it into a Starbucks for like people that are really coffee, like coffee enthusiasts, and make it into like a web app, just like Starbucks. Starbucks has a web app, you know. And then I think his mom has a daycare center, and she wants to expand. He wants to be able for people to be able to apply. They'll be able to see like all of like the dietary restrictions of your kid. You can have a profile set up for all of your kids and be able to make payments and do all of that and do reports and payments all through the app, you know? So,
Yeah.
you know, it's a different paradigm shift where you can take something that's basic and you can turn it all the way up, and you can use AI as a way to leverage it to sort of look at, okay, what things could go wrong? What exactly do I need to build out a database? How do I set up schemas that are best proficient and that could be scalable? So how do I build this web app so it has the best latency, so it has the best load time? I have a bug on the build. How do I troubleshoot this? So AI should be leveraged ultimately, especially if you already know what you're doing. It's just going to make it that much better, So
I think that's the most important part, because people seem to be envisioning this world where there's no developer in the middle, where a human could just go, a person who knows nothing about code could go on a computer, and this is a silly idea to me and dangerous as well, super dangerous, to go into a chat GPT like interface and say, build me a web app that takes payments, and deposits into this account and all this stuff, now deploy it to the web. I can already imagine just the sheer insanity and danger that could happen when you have an AI tool that's like, I have a site up that takes your password, takes your money, and transfers into my bank account. And I don't know how it works, but AI does. What happens when things break, which they always do? The life cycle of a web app could be a generation could be like a human generation. Like, we have apps and sites that have been around for decades that have tons of code, or even 5 years, that have tons of code associated with them, tons of bugs, things that slip through. And just to maintain them requires a really high level understanding of how they work. And if you don't have that understanding and you're just thinking you could just tell AI, hey, here's 10,000 files and here's a bug, fix, that's not going to ever, I don't think that's ever going to work. But you're right. If you don't actually understand the code thing, the code part of it, then how do you even know what to ask or what to tell it? And then how do you know how to fix it when things inevitably break? And so you're right. Like, AI is a really powerful tool, but the scary thing is it's just like when people used to copy off Stack Overflow. Like, I've done this, and you'd paste some code directly from Stack Overflow in your code and it breaks. And I had a really embarrassing moment where the manager came up to me and said, hey, what is this code here? And I was like, I don't really know. And it was terrible. I thought, oh God, I'm going to get fired now, And with AI, it's even easier because you can take a whole file and just like, I made this and it works. And then it blows up. You say, how does this work? I don't even know. And then that could be a fireable incident. In all honesty.
I mean, it's crazy. Like, everybody thought the calculator was going to ruin, math, right? And that's not the case at all. There are still mathematicians, and it's a respectable field and discipline. It's important.
It's behind all the AI advancements. I mean, we need mathematicians that understand this
They
stuff.
thought the calculator was, especially what's the TF-1000 or whatever, they thought they was going to work, or the Texas Instrument one, whatever it's called.
The TI 80 something or other, the really expensive. My son is in high school, or he was in high school, and I remember buying that thing at the store. I was like, geez, they're still using this thing, huh? And it's like $100 something bucks. I'm like, geez.
And so when we talk about AI, there's another component too that I always think about. There's so many edge cases.
Oh my God.
And I've been around for a little bit. I've been around as long as some other people have, as far as like seeing edge cases. And this is just like the front end web stuff. Not even talking about like super back end heady stuff where there's like, large language models or, super heavy data sets. I'm not even talking about this. I'm just talking about just the front end alone. there's so many edge cases. A dog sneezes, door closes at one time. Your computer's at a certain temperature. You're running Internet Explorer. I don't know why you would do that, but
Yeah, right. Yeah,
right.
for
So
sure.
there's all these edge cases, and things go wrong, right? And I think that like AI is doing a great job at building these language models, but it's so overwhelming, and these edge cases are so unique that there's no one that can actually diagnose it unless a human like they use
Can
to
reproduce it.
reproduce it, right?
Yeah,
And that
it's a big
piece right
one.
there is the reason why everybody's like so baffled by when things go wrong, especially with these with AI, with autonomous vehicles and stuff like that. Because like the edge cases, sometimes we don't know what's going to happen. Like we do things as humans that are like weird. Who knows how somebody uses a product or
Yeah.
somebody uses a service, and that how they use it is going to trigger an error and then the AI, the automatic default for the AI is what? To shut off or to stop or to pause at that moment. You know, that's how
Hmm.
that's it. But the human, our automatic response is to preserve and to diagnose and to solve, you know. So there's just a lot of it's just a lot of we got a long way to go till we can all the way trust that AI is going to fix everything for us. It's definitely is a really good tool,
Yeah.
but then we got a long way to go.
And if you're a junior developer, then yeah, you had a lot of great points too. And I would just add that if you're a super junior, then AI is going to be super helpful for you because all the problems you're solving are fairly trivial. They might not be to you because you're
Yeah.
just learning, but they're easy enough that they've been solved 100 times over, and you're not going to find any weird edge cases. But you're right, the edge case idea, like this idea that there are little bugs that are hard to reproduce, and AI is trained on what it's trained on. And of course, there are patterns and things it can probably recognize and extrapolate, but it's not possible, it seems like, at this moment. This is my limited understanding of AI too. I've been studying a
Yeah.
lot more, but there's no way that I'm aware of that it could look at a unique situation that it hasn't been trained on and understand how to fix it. It might have some ideas about how to go about it, but to just unleash it on a code base that has real world consequences and say, do this task from a person that doesn't know anything about coding, like a product manager or a project manager or a CEO. These are dangerous
Yeah.
ideas,
Yeah.
in my opinion. I'm curious, really, to know, and I'm sure a lot of people out here too, what is some of your advice to people nowadays that are considering getting into coding? Like what languages, frameworks, what are some things you think they should know to be hireable, to be employable?
I think it just depends on what their goals are, right? So in this instance, the students that I've been working with, um, they want to work on applications. They want to work as the bigger companies, the Facebooks, the Googles. Um, so JavaScript is still very much relevant and alive today. Python is another one that I would, as someone goes down, learn Python. But whatever you learn, I would say go in it in a way to be try to be a master craftsman in it, especially because you have AI to help you. So there's no reason to just kind of be like a fly by night person if you really want to get into it. This is not like a weekend warrior type stuff. You can go into this and really learn and immerse yourself in this. And you have so many tools and avenues to be able to do it. And just wherever you work in something that you're passionate about and that you love, because that's going to help you um, get through those times that are tough. You know, me,
Mhm.
I have an entrepreneurial spirit. I want to
Yeah,
work with small
absolutely.
businesses and mid-sized businesses, and a lot of the things that they need help with are web-based and application based. So that's sort of what's my focus, and that's full stack JavaScript, working with databases, working with marketing tools, analytic tools, and stuff on the front end, so they can have better insights, so they can run their businesses better. So that's what's my thing. And a lot of the business logic and stuff that I work with is solved by JavaScript, and I use React as a library to help me facilitate a lot of the stuff to get done. So it depends on whatever you're into, but I would suggest full stack JavaScript, or some Python in there, and learn as much as possible so you could be able to solve any problems that you might come up against, you know?
Yeah, I'm not language agnostic. Like, I do think there are some wrong choices to learn too. Like, I don't know if I would learn something like, I mean, obviously you would learn something like COBOL. JavaScript, I feel like, is the easiest place to start, and it's the most efficient,
Yeah.
probably, way to learn. And it gets you immediately career ready. Jeremy, I really appreciate you being here and sharing your story. That's a hell of a
Yeah.
story. If people want to connect with you or see you online, where are
So
you
my
at?
Instagram is software_Smitty. You can DM me there if you're looking to get into code, need some advice, need a trajectory, a blueprint. DM me, reach out to me. I'll happy to set up some time to talk. If you're in the world of Parsity, reach out to Parsity. You can find me, if you reach out to Parsity directly. But yeah, I'm not hard to find. Software_Smitty. Easy to talk to, and I got a bunch of knowledge and insights to. If you're looking to get into code, or if you've been in code for a while, or if you maybe got out of it and need a resurgence, I'm working with people that are coming back after a bad economy. They're looking back to get back into code.
Yeah, excellent guy. Totally a good person to speak with. No nonsense. Gives it to people straight, which I really appreciate. And very positive too. Just a great guy to connect with. So yeah, always good talking with you, Jeremy, and hopefully have you back on again.
For sure.
Thanks.
All right. Have a good one.
That'll do it for today's episode of the Develop Yourself podcast. If you're serious about switching careers and becoming a software developer and building complex software and want to work directly with me and my team, go to parsity.io. And if you want more information, feel free to schedule a chat by just clicking the link in the show notes. See you next week.